Ooh.
That's what I have so far.
What are hobby games?
Good.
Huh?
What are hobby games?
Like Catan and like the games that we play on a table.
Oh, are you talking like football, basketball versus like board games? Oh, okay.
I had active
like-
I had active games versus hobby games.
Okay.
So physical versus mental, essentially.
It's
Well,
an interesting question for this
fat and
table.
lazy, so it's going to be pretty simple for me.
And then team games versus cooperative games.
I really do like that one.
Okay, let's do that one.
You've not played till you've played full contact Catan. I mean, come on.
Give me the sheep now!
I got one for shame!
I've got the longest
I've got the longest.
Hello, and welcome to the podcast that discusses all things gaming. Coming to you from the home of Indie PopCon, Gen Con, and the gaming capital of the world, we are the Established Facts.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Established Facts. This is episode 135, and I really cannot believe I'm saying that. 135 is crazy. We want to thank you for checking us out again. We hope that episodes 133 and 134 were not too boring for you to be able to come back for 135. I had a great time with the all-ladies cast and then the all-guys cast. That was fun. We will be doing that again because about 5 minutes after we got done, literally, the conversation just erupted into all of these different subtopics to talk about. So I'm really excited for that. As a podcaster, I love being able to see that kind of thing. As a if you've listened to our Myers-Briggs, as the inspirer, it's always fun for me to see how all of a sudden all these brain juices start working together and new topics come out of it. So we will definitely do that again. Please look forward to that coming back. But we're on episode 135, so it's all in the past.
I hope everybody enjoyed their Thanksgiving.
Yes, absolutely. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving holiday. I hope if you didn't, you make up for it in December because you've got a whole month to do
Right?
so.
Have a pumpkin pie.
Drink some eggnog.
Have some eggnog. Oh man. Okay. So before we get into too much of a rant, let's go ahead and introduce everybody at the table. I will start on my right.
Dr. Deb.
This is Josh.
I'm Lance, and I'm happy to be here.
I'm Josh Prime.
All right, and we also have a special new personality on the mics. Drew, go ahead and tell everybody who you are.
Okay. I'm Drew Happli. Part of the reason why I'm here is I'm a representative for Steve Jackson Games. I'm one of their men in black. We teach games at conventions and game stores. Beyond that, if you've been to a convention in Indianapolis, you've probably run into me. I've helped run In Conjunction, Concept. I've been to Starbase, Indie PopCon, Indie Comic Con, Wizard World Indie.
So pretty much anything that has anything to do with conventions and gaming.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Hoosier Con. I usually run games at Hoosier Con.
Okay. And now how did you get introduced to us here at the Established Facts?
Last night, I was down at White Flag Games, and nationwide yesterday, Steve Jackson Games and US Happli were running demonstrations and games of Marvel Munchkin, including Marvel Munchkin 2 and 3, which 3, I think, just came out. So as part of that, I was down at White Flag Games in Mooresville, run the game, and I ran into one of your members here, and we talked about, I was running the game. His wife and daughter were playing, and we talked about podcasts and conventions and gaming and that type of thing. And
one thing led to another, and
Here they are.
Happily ever after.
Got dragged in.
That's right. And, of course, I'm your host, Big Don.
There you go.
Yeah. So, again, thank you so much for joining us on episode 135, and we'll check you later. Just kidding.
what?
Just kidding.
I showed up for this.
I was going to say bye. I was ready to go.
I know you were. Okay, so our discussion, our versus topic for episode 135, and then we'll get into more discussion on it, is team games versus cooperative games. So I will help you all kind of define where your answer is
May we
going to fall.
please have a definition,
Yes.
Mr. Marter?
Yes, I will give you a definition. Team games. These are games in which you would have separate but normally equal teams in one game. So perhaps charades, Pictionary. If you think of a lot, code names, you would have to have a red team and a blue team. These are cooperative games amongst your team, but competitive against another team. Dodgeball, yeah. I just had nightmare flashbacks.
Anything that has ball at the end of the word.
Yeah. Baseball, dodgeball, football, basketball.
I know, that'd be an interesting concept. We're going to play a cooperative ball game. Why?
Oh, man.
I don't need help. I'm good.
Calvin ball.
Cowbell?
Calvin ball.
Calvin ball.
Velvet ball.
It was them against Susie usually, but yes, that
There
was
you
a
go.
team sport.
So there you go. Team games versus cooperative games where everyone is on the same team. And then normally you're playing against a defector or you're playing against the game itself. So Marvel Legendary or Legendary Encounters or
Harry Potter card game. Pathfinder
Betrayal.
Adventure card game.
Right.
Dungeon Panic.
Yeah, exactly.
Castle
exactly.
Panic.
You guys got it.
Panic
So,
games.
cooperative games versus team games. I'm going to go ahead and start with Prime, and we're going to go around the table. Just give me your, team games versus cooperative games. What do you prefer, Prime?
I'm going to go with team games.
Drew?
I'm going to go with team games as well.
Lance?
Cooperative games.
Cooperative.
I'm going to say team as well. So we have a split party, which is cool. That doesn't happen very often. Normally we've got a fence sitter. We got no fence sitters in this episode. That's cool. Okay. Drew, as the newer guy on the mics, kind of give us your perspective on why you like team games over cooperative games.
A lot of the games I end up playing, like the Marvel collectible card, or not collectible, the Marvel deck building game, the DC deck building game, those are your team games. You're competing against the game. You're not competing against the other players. Quite honestly, most of the games I play are more one-on, you're competing against other players like Munchkin and
Right.
But that type of thing. But I find I enjoy those a little more. Although things like Hanabi, which is a...
Okay, are you considering Legendary a team game and not a cooperative? Because based off the definition...
Did I say cooperative? I said
You said team.
You
Did I
said
say
team.
You
Did I?
said team.
That's okay.
Okay.
That's why I
Do you
want
need to
make
change
sure
your answer?
No, because I
You
enjoy
can.
both of them.
Okay,
Completely.
okay.
I enjoy both of them. I mean,
So I think
So-
he is a fence sitter.
It's okay
Yeah,
to say
it's-
that.
Which is okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
that's the problem. I play a lot of games.
Sure.
Not
Sure.
just Steve Jackson games. Believe me, I play.
Yeah.
I bought 2 new games last night, and neither one were SJG because I've got all of those.
Yeah.
I don't have everything else.
Jeez, I still have 3 rooms to fill. No.
Let's not talk about that.
I'm just waiting for
let's not.
my 11-month-old to grow up so I can use his room as storage.
Mine's 17. I've got 2 more years. No.
They're already under his bed.
Hey, Dad, I'm coming back from college. Well, you're sleeping on the couch because I needed a place
you got a
to
hotel
store my
room.
games.
You get 2 choices. You either get to sleep on the pile of zombie side or on the couch. What do you want?
The couch is also
Anyways,
storage.
So
I was going to say, it's the spare room, then the couch is storage is stacked up on there. Look at this. Ran out of shelf space, so we used the couch instead.
I've got a backyard and a tent.
Gosh.
how about the garage? Just don't turn the cars on.
No, can't fit anything in half the garage.
Right.
Actually,
Right. So cooperative or team, you're on the fence. Is that what we
yeah,
determined?
I mean,
Okay.
I enjoy both. I like the Marvel, deck building game. I like deck building games in general to begin with. though most of the deck building games like Dominion and that type of thing, you're playing against other players, trying to get victory points. But, Castle Panic is a ton of fun.
Yeah.
I've played 3 or 4 different ones of those. Codenames was brought up, which is a great game. I got to play that at Gen Con this year. Although it wasn't at their booth, it was actually at our table where we were running games, but it was towards the end of the convention.
Well,
Nobody wants to play any more Munchkin. Let's bring out Codenames.
Well, no, we still had our games running. It was just that there was a large group of us that weren't scheduled to be running anything.
Okay.
So the MIBs kind of sat around and went, so what can we play? We've kind of played everything that we put out this weekend multiple times, so what did anybody bring that's new?
Right.
So,
well, Lance, why don't you go ahead and start us off with your cooperative board game choice?
I chose cooperative simply because when I play games with my friends, I want to play with my friends. I don't want to play against my friends, which is typically what happens when I play a sport or a game where I'm playing. Everyone has a goal, and we're all trying to get to that goal, but you can screw over your neighbor to get to that goal. Except when it comes to Castle Panic, I like playing the monsters in Castle Panic. I like playing against everyone else, and I become the goal that they have to do. But when we play Pathfinder or we play Dungeons and Dragons, the Universal Card Storytelling System card game, I like to play with my friends.
Joshua, what you got?
I'm cooperative and it's very similar to that, but personality-wise, we've mentioned my personality ranks as the diplomat. Usually, playing together in a cooperative game, we're a little less likely to argue. Some of us still have nightmares from when we did the player versus player tournament here on the Established Facts, and I thought Mike was going to kill Derek and vice versa. That was an interesting thing, but we pitted classes against each other in Pathfinder and then made those classes and then fought each other in Pathfinder rules. It was interesting. But then again, Codenames. Yes, Codenames was great because I think if I were to put a preference on team versus team over every man for themselves, I think I'd probably prefer team versus team because at least there's some camaraderie to be shown on either side as opposed to the kind of cutthroat taking everybody out. Now, there are good cutthroat take everybody out games like the Red Dragon Inn. I just can't help but laugh about the Red Dragon Inn. But Codenames was really a lot of fun because you'd see the teams working together. And yes, there's a competitive edge to it, but you're still working together. And the whole, togetherness, blah blah blah, ENFJ diplomat thing. I like to see that interaction with people.
Deb, what you got?
So I'm going to put a different spin on it because I don't know our new guests, but what your personality is, but I think I'm the only true introvert at this table. So here's a weird way of thinking about a collaborative game. Oh no, introvert. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, I'm not alone. All these guys.
I tend to be very quiet and listen and watch a lot.
Yes, it's so much easier.
And people tend to take that as, well, why don't you join in? But the problem is with doing the Steve Jackson Games MIB thing, you have to be out there and extroverted.
Right. That's why I know I wouldn't be a good choice because I'd want to be watching what everyone's doing. Yeah, that's another reason that won't happen. I'm not brave enough.
It makes it interesting because when you realize you're an introvert, you're going, this is really not what I should be doing, but somehow I'm doing this.
Right. Yet I love it so much that I do want to do it, and yet, I feel you. Because here's the funny thing about a collaborative game, and I'm going to use the Harry Potter card game because we've been playing it more recently at our house, and we really like it. It's a really good collaborative game. Can be played anywhere from 1 to 4 players. And so there are times when I want to play that game, but either I'm by myself or my husband's doing something or whatever, but I want to play the game. And the thing is, I can play the game because my opponent is the game. I don't need somebody else to play against. I could play as one player. I have played as all 4 characters in Harry Potter at a level 6 or a level 7 of that game. That will give you headaches and nightmares. Like literally, I dreamt that night that Hermione got the Felicius Felix or something like that, and Harry Potter gained an extra fight. I'm like, oh, I played this game way too much. But you can play it alone if you wanted to, because it's you versus the game. You don't need an opponent. Whereas if you play player versus player, you got to have another player to play against. So it's fun because I played that game by myself. It's also fun to play it as a group versus the game. You know, we're against Voldemort. You know, we're against, we've all read the books or seen the movie or some combination of it. You know, I'm going to beat the tar out of Bellatrix Lestrange and you're going to help me. And it's something satisfying about that. But I like how I can play it alone or I can play it with people, depending on my flavor of the day.
So that brings up the one-player game.
Yeah.
Because I'm very much that way. I will play against the game if it's a computer-based game or a console game. If I'm playing Diablo, I'm definitely trying to beat the game. And if someone joins in, that's great, and that's fine, and I like it. But I'm going to beat the game.
So, do you have a question, or are you just commenting that that's something that you really
Just
like?
piggybacking.
You versus the game?
Just piggybacking.
So, Prime, it looks like we're the only two true team game advocates.
It's true.
Well,
Drew?
If you're talking computer games, then I'm all about the team games
Okay.
because I played Counter-Strike for 14 years.
Nice.
I adore the game. Still occasionally play it. Right now, my big one is Overwatch, and there's a group of guys that I play with,
That is a fun
and
game.
we get anywhere from 2 of us to a full 6-player.
Sure.
And at times we've actually had to have a separate channel because there's been enough of us to fill 2 6-player teams.
Oh, wow.
So team games on computer, yeah, I'm all about them.
Right
But
on.
every once in a while, Diablo, pull out Diablo 3 and just go, okay, I'm going to go in and, clear a dungeon because nobody else is online.
Why
and
not? Right.
I'm not really feeling like talking to anybody, so let's go.
Right on.
Yeah. So, no, when it comes to computer games, yeah, team games are where it's at.
Okay. So what do you think, Prime?
I think that the reason why I like team games in general, well, from a console perspective, I've played Halo for God knows how long,
Right.
and I love it. And it's pretty much the same thing of what he was saying with his perspectives of Overwatch. Like, I like to be able to compete against someone else's skills, basically. You know what I mean? Instead of this preset board game that either everyone loses or everyone wins.
Right.
Like, I would rather there be a definitive winner, and then a definitive losing team. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's where I look at it from that perspective.
And that's not even to say that you don't like cooperative games.
Right.
It's just to say that between the two, you would prefer to play like a team versus team.
Because I've played so many cooperative games that everyone has lost at. It's
Right.
like when you play any
Every
kind of
other
legendary
pandemic,
encounter,
anything Z-Man
like,
puts out.
Yeah. I'm just like, this game is impossible.
Yeah.
I hate Pandemic. I've never won in Pandemic
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
So
I really love that game, though. I would have to say, I would agree with you and Drew when it comes to. I like team games because I love the competitive nature of you versus me. I enjoy individual competitive games a lot. So if I can throw 2 or 3 people that have that same kind of competitive spirit on my team, and then go against another team that has the same style of competitive spirit and see who can be the bigger winner. I really love that. I love pretty much any style of game, any genre of game in general, because I think that what I've loved about games for years is it brings everybody together on a somewhat equal level to just have fun together and fellowship together. And whether you're better at the game than I am, the spirit of us sitting down and actually playing the game is really what I'm after. But I really love team versus team games because I feel like there is an essence of competition that comes out of a team game that you won't get in any other style of gaming. I played sports when I was younger, and the camaraderie that you have when you're on a football team, for example, you guys all have the same goal, but the people you're going against have the same goal as you. They want to go out there, they want to do their best, and they want to win the game. And it's really about willpower, it's about strength, it's about endurance, and how long you can hold on to that goal and the pursuit of that goal to win versus what mistakes you might make on the way that would cause you to lose. And then the self-examination that comes in after that. I just love that whole 360-degree aspect of a team game. And like I said, don't get me wrong, I love cooperative games because, as Lance said, we get to play games together. We have the same goal. We're all trying to get the pieces of this machine to work together so that we all win or we all lose.
I feel like it's more gratifying though when you win against another team, because then there are pivotal points in a game where you can go, because of this, I made a difference in how this played out.
Right, Lance.
That's why another reason I chose cooperative versus team games. The sports question alone. I've said it on the show a bunch of times, and I say it in my personal life all the time. A sport is just a game where winning became more important than playing.
Sure.
And I don't like that I lose the fun of gameplay in the desire to win.
Okay.
I'm waving my hand and pointing and doing odd signals at Lance, but I completely agree with that statement because I'm quite competitive. I went. Yeah, well, I don't know whether you know this or not, but you get into medical school by competing against all of the other people who are trying to get into medical school. That is one ginormous competitive game. I hate to say it, but that's what it is you're putting your skills through your sometimes middle school, high school, and college career against everybody else's, and may the best people get into medical school.
May the odds be ever in your favor.
May the odds ever be in your favor, exactly. So I can compete. The thing is, when I compete, it becomes about the win. I will want to win. I will claw. I will scratch. I will find every last point. I will get very ticked off at the end, either at myself or everybody else at the table, because something, I'm mad at myself because I know I didn't do my absolute best. I'm mad at somebody else because somebody else cheated. And I don't like that about myself when I do those games. Whereas if we're in a cooperative game, if I get ticked off at the game can take it. Okay, the game's not going to burst into tears and there's no friendship risk because I got ticked off that the Harry Potter game has one particular thing. But as opposed to I'm playing in a team, if I'm playing team versus team and I'm caring so much about the win, then maybe I say something I shouldn't have said. Not that any of you would ever do that at this table, but I have been known to do that. And so I think that's where I struggle with the competitiveness against other people. Whereas, okay, we're all in this together. We're all going to buckle down. We're all going to beat this game. We're going to beat this scenario. We're going to beat this together. I like that. I like myself better when I do that.
And that said, I do enjoy a game that evolves between the individual competition, the team competition, and the cooperative style gaming, where at one moment it's everyone out for themselves, but at another moment people can team up. Mm-hmm. And then one side of the table is against the other side of the table, all trying to get to the same goal. And then maybe 2 or 3 people all come together and finally help that outcome happen. One of the examples of that is Munchkin. Mm-hmm. Where at the beginning you're all I need to build myself up and take down this and get to the level 10 and win. But eventually, somewhere along the way, you start helping your fellow players defeat enemies, or if someone messes up or messes with another player, you see the table slowly gravitate towards hurting that individual.
This big
while
target
helping.
Just starts moving around the table.
Completely does. And since we have someone here who's really good at Munchkin, maybe, Drew, can you just give us a synopsis of what Munchkin is?
Munchkin started out as a joke about D&D. You've got a certain type of D&D player that is all about trying to get the best for their character. So Munchkin is a card game in which you and the rest of the group go down into a dungeon, beat up monsters, take their stuff, backstab your buddy, and try to get to be the first to be level 10. That's a good synopsis of it.
Yeah,
but I've seen I've run Munchkin for a long time. I've run the World Tournament at Gen Con. I've run the Gen Con tournament. Once World Tournament kind of stopped because we were coming out with some new guided play stuff. I believe that's going to be out this next year.
Guided play.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm super intrigued. Okay.
And so there's, I've done a lot of this, and at Gen Con, you know, when you're doing the World Tournament, you get some people that are really, really into it. And there are times where after the end of Gen Con, I go, I don't want to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. And then somehow I forget about it by the next year. And
it's like candy corn. Anyways.
but there are other times, like this year, the first round of the Gen Con Munchkin tournament, I had a table. They were all joking and laughing and having a good time with each other. And when the person won, everybody's like, hey, that was a great game. We had a great time. And I'm like, yeah, this is what Munchkin's all about. This is great.
Found it.
2 rounds later, I'm sitting there going, why am I doing this again?
Oh, no.
Wait, didn't I say I was going to quit last year?
This is why.
Didn't I say I was going to quit 5 years ago? Why am I here?
But then, I got to the final table, and it was a good group. Had a really good time with it. So, again, Munchkin is one of those games where it starts off as, the end goal is for one person to be level 10. Mm-hmm. Now, we do allow for shared victories, so you can have multiple people, which almost happened a couple of years ago. We were going to have, we had a level 9 character, I don't remember what they were playing, and a level 9 elf. And the level 9 elf said, I'll help you defeat this monster. Mm-hmm. Well, elves in the game of Munchkin go up a level for helping.
Yep.
So we're going to have 2 people.
Yeah, but I thought you had to win the game by defeating a monster.
They were defeating it together.
They were defeating it together. One was helping the other.
Yeah, and the elf power is it can be the 10th level if you're an elf.
If you're helping out, if you're helping someone else,
gotcha.
You can get that
exactly at the same time.
Yep. And I'm like, that would have been great.
That's cool.
Now, we did have some other player who decided to squish that.
Except for the 3 players around going, and now it's a 42 level character.
Yeah.
Beat that.
Now,
Highest I've seen so far is 78.
that's crazy.
Somebody
will not win.
I don't know who they made mad, but
Actually, the player won.
The player won.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's legit.
Okay.
And the player that won, and that was in a not in a tournament round. That was actually, I play in a monthly game with 2 other MIBs, a former world champion and a former world champion finalist. He's not actually won, but he's been in the finals multiple times. And it's just a friendly game that we play. I say friendly, but again, we got level 78.
Right.
Friends that play. It may not be friendly game.
Right.
But the former world champion is the one that did actually manage to win against the level 78, and then we had to add up all the levels.
That's fun.
Oh yeah. Like last night, the final for Marvel Munchkin was really kind of weird because my kid was sitting here fighting a monster that was going to give him 2 levels. He's at level 6, no big deal. And your wife, Lance's wife, throws this Thanos on there and goes, "Okay, now you have to defeat Thanos as well." So all of a sudden, someone else steps in, had already stepped in, and now they weren't winning, and then they did some things, and all of a sudden they're winning. Mm-hmm.
And he's looking at what, 4 levels? 4 levels. Like that? Yeah.
And he's level 6, so he's going to win. And I'm like, seriously? and everybody else is just kind of going, oh, well, and nobody threw anything else on
My
him.
favorite part of that
So
was the 2 boys at the table that were there that were trying to win the whole game weren't paying attention at that moment.
Yeah.
Wow.
They could have stopped it.
Yeah.
They weren't paying attention.
They weren't paying attention, and that was kind of a theme for the night for those 2. Because there were times where they weren't paying attention, and
Yeah, that can be a problem when you have ADD and you're in a competitive game.
ADHD.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Just, I do it, but I do it faster. Well, what I love about just the idea of, like Lance was saying, an individual competitive game turning into kind of the co-op theme game for a minute. Games that do the kind of the opposite. Betrayal at House on the Hill. You are cooperative for pretty much the whole game until the defector is revealed. And then all of a sudden you have the team versus the betrayer and the house. And I love that idea of how we're all working together and then all of a sudden the twist happens and now it's like, oh crap.
I'd like to point out that that is not all of the scenarios. There are scenarios where you're facing the board itself.
That's true. Yeah.
That's true.
There's a few of them where you have
I
to
had
face.
to fight my clone.
Yeah, that's true.
I died,
That's true.
but I did.
Yes.
There's also a Cthulhu game that's like that as well, and I can't remember which one it is.
Okay. I just think that's a fun idea. Like I know
yeah.
Lance is shaking
That is
his
my
head
least
like,
favorite
no,
thing
thank you.
of board and cooperative games is that you're all working together and then there's
Until the one-
mole
yeah.
or one betrayer,
Yeah.
and then
Was it
they
Resistance?
are hurting everyone.
Oh yeah, the Resistance.
The Resistance?
Yeah, Resistance is but Resistance is more of a deception style game. Resistance is a
more
lot
like
like Are You a
Werewolf.
Werewolf?
I'm more speaking of Dead of Winter.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to
where
say yeah.
everyone's trying to get to this goal, and one person
Except
in the
for
group
one- yeah.
is like, okay, you can try to get to that goal, but I know that I'm going to try to hurt you, and
Right.
it's going to be
Now-
at the most inopportune time.
Right.
So
And it
you
can
don't like the
completely end
Battlestar
game.
Galactica game, is what I'm hearing.
I don't
never
like
played
Cylons because they never let you know who they are until it's too
Right.
late.
All I know
Right.
is it takes like 5 hours to set up and then another 10 hours to play. So
We've I
fantasy
think
flight in a nutshell. right
Prime
there.
and Josh and I have experience in playing BSG maybe twice, and both times it was
I
just.
feel like it's like
but it was
jumping
not
into a game of Access and Allies.
from what I've understood. BSG is really good when you have all of the expansions versus just the base game. I hear there's a lot of holes in the base game.
I only played it
Yeah.
when the base game was out, and then they had one expansion out.
Yeah,
and then after
and
I
it wasn't
haven't played
as it
since,
was not.
so.
It was not kind to us.
No. Especially if you're a human, I
Yeah.
played the base game
Yeah.
when it first came out, and humans were winning 30% of the
Yeah.
time at
Yeah.
best.
Yep.
And when they brought out Pegasus, it went up a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 40, 45%. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
I think that it's kind of fun to think about the differences. We talked a little bit about like sports games and like the team aspect of games like that. And Debbie was talking about when she is playing a team game, the competition of the team game, she doesn't necessarily like where like mentally she goes. But to me, that's really what I thrive on in a team game is kind of the adrenaline rush of what's going to happen next. I was just talking to my wife earlier today, actually, about a show on Netflix. I believe it's called Hellevator.
Yes.
Have you
Yes,
watched
it
that
is,
show?
and I dig
It
that
is
show.
so cool. So the idea is you have a team of 3 people, and somebody signs up this team of 3 people, and it's essentially a
Haunted house.
but each there are 4 levels that you complete to win the game. The first level is the easiest, and then it goes increasingly harder as you go to the next 3 levels. At the first level, you win $5,000. Second is 10. Third is 15. And then on the 4th level, which is the labyrinth level, whoever is left, because essentially you have a time frame that you have to complete your floor, and it's out of a team of 3, each one of you has to complete one of those floors. It's
But
not
only one person per
but only
floor.
right, but only one person at a time, and it can never be the same person. So whoever's left, once they get to the labyrinth.
Example, the first person, they go into their floor, there's a task to complete. Mm-hmm. They complete their task, they make it back to the elevator, they win their money for their team.
Your team gets $5,000.
The next person goes to the next floor, they don't complete their task, they get
They're
left
eliminated.
on that floor.
They're eliminated.
So now there's only 2 of you
yeah.
in this elevator. The next person completes it, so now there's 2 people to go into the final
Right. And
level.
they bank 15 grand off of the third level, so now you're going in with 20 and hopefully coming out with a lot more, because usually there's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 20 grand in cash.
But if you don't succeed at the last one, you walk away with nothing.
Right.
No one has done that,
Right.
Because they make it completely easy for you to
Right.
get through that.
Yeah. Because there's
You can just
money.
run
There's
from
money
one-
everywhere. There's
It's
money
a circle,
everywhere.
and you can just run from one part through everything, get back to your elevator.
Yeah. But what I love about that idea is it's kind of the opposite of Munchkin, where you are a team, but you're encountering everything sort of as an individual. Now, what I think is neat is they give everybody a walkie-talkie, and there is a TV monitor in the elevator, so we can communicate back and forth most of the time until they turn off the TV and they cut off your walkie-talkie, and then you have to do it by yourself, because there are these twins that are kind of controlling the game, and they talk through your walkie-talkie and the loudspeaker and stuff like that, and just mess with these people. And as someone I love Halloween, and I love haunted houses. I've worked in them before, and they're so much fun, and I'm watching these people, and I'm going, this is hilarious. Like, you see these people that are just... They are scared out of their mind, but then all of a sudden they go one of two ways. Either they are so scared that they can't complete the task and it just freaks them out and then they get eliminated, or they push whatever that fear is around them, that carnal fear, they just push it into a little closet for whatever the 3 or 4 minute timer is, and they just hone in and they knock out their task, and you're rooting for them the whole time, and then you're laughing at them because they're freaking out about stuff. It's one of the coolest, like, game shows, if you will, that I've ever seen.
If you like breakout games and you like haunted houses, this is right up your alley.
Yes. And it's fun because the motivation is you have 2 other teammates that are on that elevator waiting for you to come back with your, not only are you contributing to the money that the team gets, but, they're kind of your advocate. Like, they're cheering for you and rooting you on, and they're trying to help you complete the game that you're playing, by giving you suggestions or something like that. And so it's interesting because it's one of those kind of things where it's a team-based game, and it's you versus the game, so it's cooperative in a way, but it's also 100% individual because nobody else can complete your room. It's not team-based and cooperative until you get to the last floor. And a lot of the ones that I've seen, it's one person that gets to the last floor because the other 2 people just can't. Either they don't get their task done in time, or they're just so freaked out that they can't even handle the task and stuff. But it's definitely, I think it's hilarious. I think it's great. And I'm every time I watch it, I look over at my buddy Alan, and I'm like, dude, we could totally do this. Like, I would have no problem. There are things that, because they give, I think when you sign up, they do a survey and they ask you what you're scared of.
Well, they ask your friends and family as well,
right?
To verify.
They do like interviews and stuff like that with people so that they can set the haunted house up for you. And the neatest thing, in my opinion, about the whole show is they shape the haunted house around an actual historic, like, creepy event. Like, it'll be like a hospital where the doctors, like, tortured all these people and then it got closed down, and then, like, there's still the spirits of these people walking around in the haunted house. And, like, just that idea is just kind of fun, and obviously it's just in a big warehouse. It's not, but they basically they craft it to be whatever that scenario is, and it's different every time. So I think that kind of idea
the rooms are also
is fun.
pre-made based on the competitors too. So
yeah.
if X person decides that they're going to go first,
yeah,
they will adjust which room is for them.
Yes.
to make that the first room.
Yeah. My buddy Alan was telling me about the very first episode. It's like these 3 people from, I think it's like New Jersey or something, and it's these 2 gals and this one guy who's just this big, beefy, muscular dude, and he's in his room. He's in his room, and the idea is he's chained up, but he has to like, each chain is a different length, and so he has to essentially unlock himself by the keys that are on the wall, but he has to do it in a certain sequence because only certain chains will allow him to reach to the wall, but then there's another guy behind him that he cannot see that is also chained to the wall, and it's an actor in the game, and he starts like out of nowhere, he just hears him kind of shuffling around, and then he hears him like run up on him, and the guy goes, "Son, you touch me, you are gonna get checked." And then all of a sudden, like, you just see the actor like from then on, he just kind of stays on his side of the room. And I was like, yeah, that dude is gonna hurt you. Like, so, I love it. I love that stuff. But so that's the kind of stuff that I really love about team games, is you get a different integrity of gaming out of a team game. And I think probably the biggest disappointment out of team games, though, is when you have two teams and one of those teams has prepared and done a lot, and then you have another team that just seems like, I hate to use the word cheat, but they use their environment kind of as an advantage over the other people, and it's not as fair as essentially, if you had a team of skinny or really out of shape nerds versus like American Gladiators, and you guys are trying to climb a rock wall.
It's like playing football in Dallas.
Right.
Not Dallas, Denver.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Mile High Stadium. You've got guys who don't live in an air quality like that going there and playing one game on a Sunday, or a Thursday or a Monday, and they can't, they get gassed by halftime because, they just don't have the oxygen flow that they normally would. And that kind of stuff just always bothers me a little bit, or you have teams that have outdoor stadiums versus teams that have indoor stadiums,
Oh, Lambeau.
Yeah. So
how many games have been decided not by the team, but because Lambeau Stadium decided it was going to have a moment, and you were just.
But I think
you're going to freeze to death.
I think that certain things like weather, there are certain things about weather that you can prepare for. If the Indianapolis Colts are going to go and play the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau and it's snowing, well, they have an opportunity to kind of train in the snow to get acclimated a little bit better to, and it's cold in Indianapolis around the same time that it's cold in Green Bay. It's not as cold, but it's not like going from Miami to Green Bay. I mean, you're talking about, 80-degree weather versus, minus 20 or something like that. Like, that's an incredible difference.
Figure that I'm from Wisconsin.
Sure. Okay. Well, there you go.
Alrighty then.
And figure that, Indianapolis versus Wisconsin, there's going to be probably a 10-degree difference.
Here
But it can go a little bit more,
Right.
To give you an idea.
Right.
There was a winter, and we'd moved to Indy here, and here in Indy it was negative 20 without the wind chill. Well, up where I'm from, it was negative 40 without the wind chill.
Right, exactly.
And once you factor in the wind chill, it dropped negative 40 and negative 80.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Whereas during the summer, I've been down here, and it's been 100 degrees.
Yeah.
Go up there, and it's still 90.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
It's a 10-degree difference, but the snow inches are unfathomable.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
When
they don't have inches of snow in Wisconsin.
Taller than you are when you're walking along the road.
Well, I will say, and I've talked to a couple of people that live, like our friend Adam lives in Minnesota, and I love the idea of the way that Minnesota and the way that Wisconsin deal with snowfall. Is just make sure you're not parked on the street.
And don't
because they're going to drive a bulldozer through the street, and they're going to pick it all up, put it in a dump truck, and they're going to take it out in the middle of nowhere and just dump it. That's just how. And I'm like, wow, they got their entire.
Don't ever expect to use the sidewalks ever. During the winter, ever.
They got that done in
most
4
people
hours.
clean off their sidewalks.
That takes all day to do 5 feet.
But you can use your front door as a freezer.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Popular up there.
Yeah, right.
Really good, strong snowblowers are
Two-stage.
fantastic. Yeah. Oh,
What do you got for us, Lance?
No, I was trying to get us back on track, away from weather and back to gaming.
but weather is involved with
I mean,
gaming.
sledding. Can
Have you
be a
ever listened to
game,
this
and snowball
podcast?
fights can be a game.
Yeah, bobsledding, that's a team sport, you know.
Feel the rhythm.
Team USA, Team USA,
Team Jamaica.
Team Jamaica.
Jamaica
Shut up,
always.
it's bobsled
Okay, to
time.
go back to games, though, have you guys done like Breakout or?
Yes.
I have.
Okay.
I almost had a job with them. I did. I almost
I
had a
did
job.
the escape room.
Okay, yeah, that was the other
The
one.
escape room.
Yeah, I did. I almost worked at Breakout. I did one of their rooms. It's fun. I enjoy that kind of stuff, like
Yeah.
kind of puzzly, cooperative, team oriented, with a fun like story kick to it.
You know, the week
We
before
broke
Gen Con, my wife and myself and another couple that's a friend of ours and a friend of ours who unfortunately was not able to attend Gen Con that year, but she was up here for work
Sure.
and flew out right before Gen Con started.
Yeah.
She got out.
We, the five of us, went to Breakout on the south side
Okay.
and went through it, and we actually managed to get out.
Nice.
Yep. Had 6 minutes left, 4 minutes left.
Oh wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's cool.
We had 3 minutes left when
We did it.
the
Yeah,
escape
yeah,
room.
like 35 seconds left to go.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, "Okay, you've got it. I'm gonna because we had the code to get out, but we were putting it in and it wouldn't go. He's like, I'm just gonna open the door for you because you know the right numbers in the right order, but the door is messed up.
Oh,
Yeah. So 35 seconds left.
yeah. I didn't make it.
No.
I played with a group of 4 or 5, and we literally had all but one number in the code to get the door open, and I was like, the end of it was a Morse code thing where you had to listen to the beeps on a recorded tape.
You did the kidnapping one, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were like, they kept listening to, and it was the first number. The first number, they were like, "Oh no, it's this number," and I'm like, "No, dude, you're not listening to the whole sequence. You're listening to the first half of the sequence, and then you're guessing." He's like, "Well, it should be 6 numbers," and I'm like, "No, it's 5. It's 5 numbers, and the first number is a 9, and you're talking about it being like these two different." I'm like, "You're wrong. I'm like, try 9, and
It's a good thing your life didn't actually depend on
right, yeah, because I would have just shoved them all at the door with the dude coming in with the knife and beat the crap out of him and left. That's, hey, sorry guys.
I think you define my struggle with a team game. I think right there is if I am teamed up with a bunch of
a team game works as long as everybody on the team has the same goal.
Yeah, if your teammates aren't exactly, if
Well-
we're not all on the same team, so to
Yeah.
speak, either. I don't want to
If
call
there was-
people idiots,
if it
but
was
some of those people
real
can be
fear,
idiots.
Yeah.
I think people would be more inclined to work together. and
Right.
think,
If there was really a guy trying to stab you in real life,
Yeah, it'd be no, it'd be over.
Just turn around and tell him to check him.
Yeah, right.
please stick close to me. I'm
Yeah.
gonna check.
You better have a big old knife, boy. I'm a big
I
old
think that's my
dude.
struggle with the team is I'm sitting here like I'm on the team with these people, but these people are they need help.
Yeah,
and
but
then I
that's
struggle with that.
but there's no, as far as the team dynamic and what you and maybe we can get into this, like building the team dynamic, because this is something that accounts for role-playing games. This is something that accounts for team and cooperative games. You can't account for what somebody has and doesn't have as far as reasoning, intellect, being able to rationalize a certain situation and come up with a certain result.
No.
The thing is, you can only bring in what you have. So you can't expect, you shouldn't expect me to know how to do a minor surgery. I could probably stitch somebody up. I can do CPR and first aid and things like that, but those are not my skills. So if you walk into a situation where there's a medical emergency, I'm going to be limited on what things I can and cannot do. However, what you can do as an effective leader of a team is to know what strengths and what weaknesses your entire team has so that you can then build off of those strengths and weaknesses. And it's the same with a role-playing game, a cooperative game, a team-based game. Go ahead, Lance.
That's why when we play role-playing games, Pathfinder, D&D, whatever, I'm a big fan of Session 0, where
Yes.
you all get together and you figure out what your strengths are. Just like when you're on a football team,
Yep.
you know which guy is the fastest guy because
Right.
you've been in practice with him, and you
Right.
do team building exercises, so you all know each other. But in things like when we did True Dungeon,
True Dungeon.
Yeah.
True
6
Dungeon's
of us
a
can be
perfect
together,
example of-
but if there's only 4 of us, we have 2 strangers.
Yeah.
Or there's 3 of us and there's 3 strangers, whatever.
Right.
We don't know how they play. They may have
Right.
gone through it already and they know what to do, and
Right.
they're going to be just fine.
Right.
So they're not really focused on it. They want to just watch and experience this time.
And I think that's the thing I do not like about True Dungeon. I love True Dungeon. The thing I don't like is the randomness of, if you don't know who's on your team, and if we're going in this thing as a team, then you're in the puzzle kind of situation and you're trying to communicate, and like either they're not communicating or they're not listening or they don't care or they're just screwing around because they don't care about the fact that I spent a small fortune on the ticket to True Dungeon. For 2 True Dungeons because
Everybody
there's multiple.
does.
Well, yeah, but apparently they don't care because they're over there screwing around or looking at something on their phone or whatever. So I think that's where I struggle, because I was like, if you're supposed to be on my team, then be a team player. And no, I admit I am absolutely on the same page. Hey, if it's time to move a big boulder, Deb ain't going to move the boulder. It ain't
Right.
going to happen. But I'm still going to be a team player. I'm still going to sit here and be interested in it. I'm still going to be focused. I'm still going to, can I help? When the boulder's moved, what can I do to help? You don't always get those people when your team's picked out randomly, like with True Dungeon.
Right.
And I struggle with that a lot, because then I'm getting really ticked off. And I'm like, okay, this is not a good, healthy thing.
Well, and that's why it's good in a team scenario, regardless what you're playing. It's good to know who your natural leaders are, because your natural leaders are going to be able to kind of see, right off the bat, okay, I may not know what all of Josh's skill sets are, but Josh has a smartwatch and he has a smartphone. Okay, so maybe he knows a little bit about technology. So if we have a question about technology, hey, do you know anything about, fixing this or fixing that?
Nobody's phone does.
Yes,
I don't-
love Apple Windows.
Yeah, Apple Windows. Linux. I honestly, Drew and I just met each other today. I don't know a whole lot about Drew, but I do know that he is, though an introvert, still comfortable with talking to people about things that he has knowledge of. So he can be a sounding board to people. He's a lot quieter than I am. I'm loud as heck. So if there's something that, hey, Drew, would you mind kind of breaking this down for this group of people, because I don't want to scare them. You know what I mean? I don't want to freak them out with my personality. Having an idea of who is kind of your natural leader, who is kind of the natural
Talker.
talker,
You
right?
need someone who can talk.
Right.
You need someone who can sneak. You need I think that's a D&D party.
It is.
You
It
need
is,
someone
but
who
it
can
Finds
heal.
our
You
group
need-
template.
It worked. Well, I mean, you should have a group template. I know that like Fear the Boot talks about this stuff all the time when it comes to role playing games. But in any game situation, it is good for you. When we play Pandemic, there are certain guys that you're going to be really good with, and other guys you're just not really going to understand the strategy of, because you haven't played with them before, or it's just a complicated strategy for you to kind of wrap your head around. So having that strength in a team is definitely important, whether you're playing in a team game, whether you're playing in a cooperative game. If you're playing in a game like Elevator, where okay, Don's not really afraid of a whole lot, but stuff in the dark that he can't see freaks him out a little bit, because he wants to be able to have that tactile, vision to hand-eye coordination. If he doesn't have that, he might be able to succeed, but he's gonna be weaker in that sense. Whereas the dark doesn't bother me. I just don't like really loud sounds. Really loud sounds will set me off, and freak me out. It's just, those type of...
You just described me perfectly.
I did, I know. But those type of things, I think, are really good to know up front about people. If you do the escape room, or if you do Breakout, or if you do True Dungeon, when you walk in, something that we've been doing the last couple of years in True Dungeon when we go in together, because we know that we're likely not going to get 8 to 10 people in a group to go. We might get 4 or 5, But when we go in, the first question we ask is, have you guys done this adventure yet?
Yeah.
Have you done this the combat or the puzzle game. And most of the time, thank goodness, we get no, which is good because we don't like spoilers. We want to go through and we all want to work together to be able to figure out the puzzle. The next thing is, this last year, this happened to us. We had 2 brand new people, I believe, in our second session, had never played before.
Yeah, that's the second one. Have you ever done True Dungeon?
Have you ever done True Dungeon at all before? No. Okay. Cool. We're veterans. We aren't experts, but we at least aren't going to walk in there not knowing what's going to happen. And so, not only will we sit there and help equip new people, because I've got a load of armor that I don't use. I normally play a rogue or a caster. I'll play a rogue or a caster. I can't use 15 great helms. Sorry, it just doesn't work.
You need a helmet? I got a helmet.
I got helmets. I got helmets coming out my ears.
You need a peapot? I got one of those too. It's called a helmet.
Just don't fill it up past the visor.
Right. You might be able to get 8 ounces in that bad boy, so just dump it out before you finish. Anyway.
But I do like the veterans that will let the newbies or the a little bit experienced people try first, and then when it gets down to time, make suggestions, but not just solve the problem.
Sure. Or, if you have a new person that is, Drew, have you ever done True Dungeon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, we had a group large enough
that
we didn't have anybody.
That's awesome.
Jealous.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It was a group of MIBs from all over the United States.
Okay.
We planned it, and it was interesting because since I set up the work schedule, I had to make sure everybody has to be off during this time. So I got this other group of MIBs that aren't.
Right.
So I need to make sure they're available during that time.
There you go.
Right.
There you go. But it was fun. Like this last year, I think one of the guys who was new was a cleric, and because I had run a cleric before and Debbie's run a cleric before, you kind of go over and you're like, okay, I want to help you. I want to help you memorize your beads because you have to know these.
It's so difficult.
You
That's
have
always
to.
the most
Oh yeah, dude.
thing.
You have to know these to heal. If you don't know these, your healing is going to be poo.
Yeah,
you're not going to heal for anything.
Right.
Same with what's the one that uses the druid? Is that the one that uses the big diamond picture that has all of the different symbols?
That's the
Wizards and
caster.
sorcerers.
The wizard and the
Wizards.
sorcerers have
Okay.
it, and then the druids have something else that they have to do. But
Druids, if they heal, have to remember the cleric one, I believe.
Okay. Anyway, but there's a lot of fun stuff that you can help people who aren't familiar, or even if you have people that are veterans. In Drew's case, being able to have an entire party that you can. If you want to mix it up a little bit, maybe you haven't played a caster, maybe all you've played is the dwarven fighter, or something like that for a long time. Being able to kind of break that mold and get into playing something different. If you have a cohesive team, you're going to be successful. So, I think that this has been a really fun discussion on like kind of team breakdowns and co-op versus team games and stuff like that. I encourage all of you to definitely, if you aren't a team game person, try a couple. Codenames is a great team game. I think that game is so much fun. Cooperative games, there's a load of them. I mean, everybody in the world has. Does Steve Jackson have a co-op? Purely co-op game?
Not
I don't know. They're very cutthroat.
Everyone but Steve Jackson has.
I'm thinking like Zombie Dice.
I literally broke my brain for a second, going Steve Jackson co-op.
Yeah,
I'm like,
right.
no,
I
the
don't
whole
believe
point
we
is
do.
that everyone else is supposed
Steve
to.
Jackson has a
lose
they
but
have
you.
a role playing system, don't
Yeah.
they? Okay, well there you go. There's your co-op.
Well, yeah. I
opportunity.
mean, we've got GURPS. I mean,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. GURPS.
Generic
GURPS
universal role-playing
I never
system.
Played GURPS.
Did you
Never?
say
GURPS.
it's generic universal role playing system? That's what it stands for?
yeah.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
There you go.
Well, now you know.
Wow.
You've been
The
educated.
things you
Everyone's called
know.
it GURPS at the table except you.
That's the broadest name. Like that's
Yeah,
even
well, I think
broader
that's the
than
point.
Universal
Because it's
system.
one, and then you have all the supplements that
Yeah, I
you
was
can
going to
plug
say,
into it.
Okay.
what do you want to play in GURPS? You want to be a space marine werewolf sorcerer? Sure, we can do that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That was my
yeah.
first play. That was my first ever thing of Rifts. Was something very similar.
Yeah.
Rifts does the same type of thing. You can do just about anything with them.
That's right.
I played a ninja in Rifts. Anyways.
So, all right.
Drew,
Thank you so much for hanging out
for
with us,
coming,
Drew.
man.
Yes, thank you again for joining us on the Established Facts.
where can we find
episode
you on the
135.
interwebs and places?
You can, well, if you want to learn more about the MIB program, that's stevejacksongames.com/MIB.
Which is Men in Black, correct?
Right.
Okay, just making sure.
But we accept women also.
Right, okay. Well, there you go.
And you don't have to wear
Nibs.
black.
And you,
And you,
right.
you don't have to, but if you do, you get a nifty shirt. Once you get through probation, you get a nifty shirt.
Nice.
And I like the new design that we've got.
I like that.
Cool. Oh, nice.
And let's see, myself, I am usually found at havencom.com.
Okay.
So,
All right. Very cool. Don't forget, when does this drop? When does this drop?
2 weeks from now, a week and a half from now.
Okay.
Or today, if you're listening to it online.
Sure.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Hello, future
Early
people.
December.
Duh.
Early December. Got it. Early December.
Let's go into the future.
Make sure you check out all your dates for coming conventions in 2017. I think the first one on the schedule that is in the forefront of my mind is Anime Crossroads, and that is in February. I don't know if there are any in December.
There's a Hoosier event coming up soon, a Hoosier Con, right? Or did that just happen?
no, that's in May. Or that's
I thought they were
that's
having
usually
like the
around
Thanks for Giving
April.
one. Anyways,
Oh, yeah, they do the Thanks for Giving, which
Okay.
I can't remember when that is.
I will look while he keeps talking.
I'm pretty sure that
That may have
happened
been
this
this weekend.
Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
I think is
That
when
would
it
only
happened.
be
I think it was
logical,
Saturday.
Given the name.
Who does logical
the
stuff? You're
Saturday
right.
after Thanksgiving.
Not a lot. Not enough.
No, it really is true.
It doesn't matter. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us on episode 135. On our last episode, episode 134, we established that the greatest British hero is the Oxford comma.
As played by William Shatner.
That's right. And our new fact is an SAT-style fact. Drew is to Munchkin, as Josh Prime is to candy corn. Thank you so much for joining us on episode 135, and we will check you later.
Bye. Please visit us at www.theestablishedfacts.com and our Facebook page, facebook.com/theestablishedfacts. If you would like to support us by buying some merchandise, visit cafepress.com/castingrobot.
Bonus